From the vast windswept steppes of Central Asia emerged a figure whose name would echo across continents. Timur, known to the West as Tamerlane, rose from obscurity to carve an empire in blood and fire. To understand him, we must return first to the land that shaped him, the endless grasslands of the steppe. The steppe was both cradle and crucible. For centuries, nomadic tribes fought and survived here, bound by codes of honor and ruthless competition. The Mongol Empire had collapsed, but its shadow lingered. It was in this world of shifting loyalties and brutal survival that Timur's destiny began to take shape, a destiny steeped in both tradition and terror. Timur's legend would be told in whispers and screams. He would be remembered not only for conquest, but for cruelty. Towers built from skulls, cities reduced to ash, and entire peoples erased. Yet to his followers, he was a chosen leader, forged by the steppe, destined to restore the glory of the Mongols. Every empire casts a shadow, but Timur's story begins before empire itself. It begins in the raw landscape that tested every man's strength, where survival demanded cunning, violence, and vision. In this unforgiving crucible, a boy would rise, scarred, ambitious, and relentless. A boy who would grow into one of history's most feared conquerors. His journey from the windswept plains of Central Asia to the thrones of Persia, India, and beyond is one of ambition and devastation. This is Timur, the shadow of the steppe. Timur was born in Transoxiana near the city of Kesh, modern Shahrazabs. Timurid dynastic sources give a birth date of 8 to 9 April 1336, but many contemporary accounts and several modern scholars place his birth in the late 1320s. The exact year remains debated. He was of the Warlords, a Turkicized Mongol tribe. His father is recorded as Tarakai, described in sources as a minor noble. His name Timur, means iron in Chagatai. The Barlas had long been partly sedentarized. They spoke Turkic, followed Islam, and mixed steppe and oasis life. Timur's upbringing therefore combined caravan commerce, local town life, and steppe traditions that forged his worldview. As a young man, Timur took part in raids, a common practice for steppe elites. Contemporary chronicles report he was wounded in a raid, arrows to his right leg and hand, losing fingers and gaining a permanent limp and weakened right arm. These injuries produced the Persian epithet Timur the Lame. Sources describe Taragai as a Barlas noble. Some modern historians suggest Timur later downplayed his family's status to magnify his rise. The Barlas traced descent, via Karakar, to early Mongol commanders, a pedigree Timur used when asserting legitimacy. The region's elite operated in multiple registers: Chagatai or Turkic speech, Persian for administration and culture, and Islam as the dominant faith. Timur's circle later made Persian the court language even as Mongol steppe traditions persisted. Young Timur gained experience leading small raiding bands for animals and plunder. These raids taught logistics, speed, and loyalty management, the core practical skills that would scale to larger campaigns. By the 1360s, Timur entered the service of local leaders and formed an alliance with Emir Hussein. He learned coalition warfare and the politics of steppe patronage, steadily building his personal followership. Even before he controlled Samarkand, Timur combined steppe mobility with calculated brutality against resisting foes, a method aimed at minimizing long sieges and maximizing deterrence. This reputation helped him attract followers and coerce rivals. Timur later used marriage ties and carefully chosen alliances with Chinggisid families to strengthen claims of legitimacy. Such marital diplomacy would become central as he prepared to seize wider power. The combination of Barlas origins, mixed urban steppe upbringing, battlefield wounds, raiding experience, and early alliances shaped a commander who understood both cavalry tactics and political legitimacy, setting him on the path to seize Samarkand and create a new dynasty. By the late 1360s, Timur's alliance with Emir Hussein had frayed. Disputes over policy, loyalty, and the rebuilding of Balkh escalated tensions. In 1370, Timur defeated Hussein, who was later executed. Timur then took Hussein's widow, Saray Mulk Khanum, a Chinggisid princess, strengthening his legitimacy. In 1370, Timur declared himself ruler of Transoxiana, taking the title Emir rather than Khan, as only a Chinggisid could claim that title. He ruled in the name of a puppet Khan while holding real power. Timur made Samarkand his capital, investing heavily in its fortifications, markets, and religious institutions. The city became both a political hub and a symbol of his ambition. From 1370 to 1380, Timur focused on securing Transoxiana. He eliminated rivals, subdued rebellious tribes, and established a stable base for expansion. Timur preserved aspects of Mongol Yasa law while incorporating Islamic governance. Civil administration was handled by Persian bureaucrats. Military authority rested with trusted steppe commanders. Timur's forces were a synthesis of steppe cavalry traditions and disciplined coordination. Units were organized decimally, with clear chains of command, enabling rapid, long-distance campaigns. Once secure at home, Timur turned outward, launching campaigns into Khorazm, the Fergana Valley, and beyond. His aim was both to control trade routes and to punish defiance. Timur extended influence through both force and diplomacy, demanding tribute and loyalty from neighboring rulers in exchange for protection. Timur positioned himself as a champion of Islam, commissioning mosques and madrasas, while also justifying wars against Muslim rulers who opposed him as punishment for impiety or rebellion. By the end of the 1370s, Timur had transformed himself from a steppe warlord into the master of a centralized, wealthy, and militarily formidable state. The stage was set for the empire's great conquests. After taking Samarkand, Timur fortified its walls and appointed loyal governors to enforce his rule. His strict governance ensured the city's stability amid regional chaos, establishing a strong base for future expansion. Timur combined alliances with ruthless punishments to suppress rebellion. Public executions and displays of force instilled fear, ensuring compliance from rival tribes and city officials alike. One of Timur's cruelest methods was erecting towers made of his enemies' skulls as a grim warning to those who dared oppose him. These towers became symbols of terror throughout his empire. While brutal, Timur relied on Persian bureaucrats to manage day-to-day administration, blending Mongol military power with Islamic civil governance. His military was organized into 2 months. Units of 10,000 cavalry, allowing precise control and fast mobilization across vast distances. Timur adopted siege technologies from conquered lands, combining them with traditional Mongol steppe tactics for effective campaigns. Investments in roads and irrigation projects improved agriculture and trade, strengthening the economy, supporting his military campaigns. Timur patronized Islamic architecture, commissioning mosques and madrasas that showcased his power and religious legitimacy. Fear of Timur's ruthless justice spread, preventing many uprisings before they began and consolidating his control over newly conquered territories. This combination of terror and governance forged a durable foundation for Timur's empire and prepared him for his campaigns beyond Transoxiana. Timur's campaigns into Persia began in the 1380s, aimed at securing key cities and trade routes. His forces moved swiftly, using both cavalry speed and brutal siege tactics. The conquest of Herat and Mashhad showcased Timur's military skill and strategic planning, defeating larger armies through surprise and coordination. Timur was infamous for massacres following sieges, including the sack of Isfahan, where thousands were killed and the city was devastated. The towers of skulls constructed from executed enemies served as grim symbols to subdue populations and discourage resistance. Despite the violence, Timur also rebuilt infrastructure in Persia, restoring irrigation and trade routes to benefit the empire economically. Timur justified his wars partly through religious rhetoric, framing conquests as punishment for disloyal or heretical Muslim rulers. His military campaigns were often seasonal, advancing in spring and retreating in harsh winters, reflecting his understanding of terrain and climate. Persian artisans and engineers were incorporated into Timur's administration, aiding in siegecraft and architectural projects. The brutal methods used in Persia left lasting scars, but also paved the way for Timur's further expansion westward. These Persian campaigns demonstrated Timur's combination of military genius and calculated terror, setting a precedent for his later conquests. In 1398, Timur launched a massive campaign into northern India, aiming to control the wealthy Sultanate of Delhi and its prosperous trade networks. His army marched rapidly across the Indus plains, overwhelming local defenses with swift cavalry assaults. The siege of Delhi was brutal. After breaching the walls, Timur's forces plundered the city for weeks, leaving devastation in their wake. Massacres were widespread, with contemporary chroniclers describing thousands of deaths and immense destruction. Timur justified his violence by accusing the Delhi Sultanate of religious impiety and rebellion against Islam. The sack of Delhi cemented Timur's reputation as a ruthless conqueror feared across Asia. Timur took vast amounts of treasure, artisans, and captives back west to enrich his empire. The campaign disrupted Indian politics for decades, weakening the Sultanate and opening the way for future invaders. Timur's tactics combined overwhelming force with psychological terror, breaking the will of opposing armies and populations. The March on Delhi was one of Timur's bloodiest campaigns, showcasing his strategic acumen and uncompromising cruelty. Timur's westward expansion brought him into conflict with the rising Ottoman Empire, led by Sultan Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt. Both leaders claimed the legacy of the Mongol Empire, fueling rivalry for dominance over Anatolia and the Middle East. The rivalry culminated in the Battle of Ankara in 1402, one of the largest clashes of the era. Timur's forces decisively defeated Bayezid's troops, capturing the Ottoman Sultan and causing chaos in the empire. The battle shattered Ottoman unity, triggering civil war and halting their expansion for years. Timur spared Bayezid's life, but kept him imprisoned until his death, demonstrating calculated mercy and political strategy. The victory boosted Timur's reputation as the supreme power in the Muslim world at that time. Despite the victory, Timur's empire was stretched thin, facing logistical challenges and internal pressures. The Ottoman defeat delayed the empire's rise, but did not end its future dominance. The Battle of Ankara remains a landmark event, symbolizing the clash of two empires and the limits of Timur's reach. After Ankara, Timur expanded into the Caucasus and the Middle East, securing vassals and demanding tribute from regional rulers. He waged campaigns against the Golden Horde in the north, further consolidating control over Central Asia. Timur's armies marched into Syria and Mesopotamia, capturing key cities such as Aleppo and Baghdad. His conquests disrupted the established order, toppling several local dynasties and reshaping regional politics. Timur maintained a network of spies and messengers, enabling rapid communication across his vast domains. He often used brutality to enforce submission, but also allowed local rulers to govern as vassals, balancing fear with pragmatism. Timur's campaigns devastated many cities, but he also promoted architectural projects symbolizing his power. His empire became a crossroads of cultures, languages, and religions, reflecting the diversity of the lands he ruled. Timur's administrative innovations helped hold together a fragile empire stretched across thousands of miles. Yet beneath this power, cracks formed as distant provinces chafed under Timurid control. In 1404, Timur launched his final campaign against the Ming dynasty in China, seeking to extend his empire further east. The expedition faced logistical challenges. Harsh climate, stretched supply lines, and hostile terrain slowed progress. Timur fell ill during the campaign, reportedly dying in early 1405 in the city of Otrar, modern Kazakhstan. His death left the army leaderless, forcing a retreat that halted the eastern expansion of the empire. Timur's burial was in Samarkand, in a grand mausoleum that became a symbol of his dynasty. His empire was divided among his sons and grandsons, sparking internal conflict and gradual decline. Despite death, Timur's military innovations influenced warfare for decades after. His legacy was complex, a brilliant strategist and empire builder, but also a ruthless conqueror responsible for mass suffering. The Timurid dynasty continued for generations, contributing significantly to Islamic art and culture. Timur's life remains a testament to the brutal realities of medieval conquest and the enduring power of ambition. Timur's empire reshaped the political landscape of Central Asia, the Middle East, and South Asia, leaving a profound historical impact. His military campaigns caused immense destruction, with millions of lives lost in warfare, sieges, and massacres. Yet Timur's patronage of art and architecture helped foster a cultural renaissance in the Timurid period. The Towers of Skulls remain chilling symbols of his brutal methods and the terror he inspired. Historians debate whether Timur was a visionary leader or a ruthless tyrant. The truth likely lies in between. His empire influenced later dynasties, including the Mughals, who claimed descent and carried forward Timurid traditions. Timur's story warns of the human cost of ambition and conquest, a reminder of history's darker chapters. Yet it also highlights the complexity of power, combining cruelty with statecraft destruction with creation. For history's monsters viewers, Timur stands as a figure both monstrous and remarkable, a conqueror who shaped an era through blood and iron. His legacy endures, a stark testament to the intertwined forces of ambition, violence, and cultural flourishing in human history.